Welcome to the TravelingTice Podcast. This is my first time uploading a podcast right now. First of all, thank you so much for tuning in this podcast. It feels a little weird because I can hear myself through my headphones, and I've never really had that before, and I was just laughing at myself because I could hear it so, I don't know, differently than normally. But no, I like it. I like it so far. So this is a blog. This is a podcast series on my website. So you can go to my website. I think. Well, there are three ways that I'm gonna make it so that you can find my podcast. The first one is on my website. The second one is through SoundCloud, and the third one is through iTunes, I believe. I've never used iTunes myself, but SoundCloud I'm pretty familiar with, so that should work out. But if you found me through my website, you already know my website a little bit. If you haven't, then you should go to TravelingTice.com, so that's traveling with one L, Tice, which is my name, .com. And there you can find, first you find the homepage, where you see me in a slideshow. And when you scroll down, you can see some additional information about who I am. But I'm also going to talk about that in this first podcast. So I do need kind of like an intro jingle. Will be fun. But as I'm starting out right now, I first have to see if I like it that much. But yeah. All right. So let's start with, first of all, why did I choose to make a podcast? Because when you, if you hear this podcast and this is the first time that you hear from me, that's kind of weird. First of all, because my biggest audience is on YouTube, so I think you probably already know me through my YouTube videos. That's probably the case. On there, my YouTube channel, TravelingTice, right now it has about 1.2 thousand subscribers. Yeah, that's really cool. That's the way I started off before I had this website and this podcast series at all. The first thing that I did was making videos on YouTube, and I still do that, by the way. That's my main focus for TravelingTice, but I like to do this at the side because there were some topics that I couldn't cover fully in a video. Because they were too in-depth, or I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. But if I were to put that in a video and put myself in front of a camera and do that, then that will be a little bit boring for you guys. So I decided, because when I was on my first bike trip through Europe, I cycled through 8 countries in Europe, also completely covered in vlogs on my website, on my YouTube channel. You can find all my vlogs there, about, I think, 75 vlogs of my time when I was cycling through Northern Europe in October, November, autumn. The weather wasn't great, but I had a blast nonetheless. So yeah, if you don't know anything about that, you should go ahead and check that out on my YouTube channel. So on this trip that I did when I made these vlogs, when I think it was on the third or the fourth day, I started listening to podcasts. So I've never listened to podcasts before, and this first podcast was from Jayo. If you know Jayo, he's a really big inspiration for me because he is cycling around the world at the moment. Well, he's taking a break right now. It's February right now. But I think it was a year and a half ago. He also had a podcast series. Well, he gave up on it after a little while because they weren't really super, listened to a lot. But I really like them, just because when I was cycling, it's kind of like the perfect formula. It's not, before that I was listening to music all the time, so I would be listening to the radio. But once I started to cross the border into Germany, because I'm from Holland, by the way. I'm from Holland, and I cycled to Germany. That was in my first bike tour in Northern Europe. I lost the radio signal for Dutch radio shows. And I did understand a little bit of German, so in Germany I think it wasn't really that much of a problem. But I was kind of fed up with all the, the same songs or just songs in general. So I tried out this podcast from this guy that I knew very well through his YouTube. And I liked it. It's really, he also kind of, does monologues, like what I'm doing at the moment. I don't want to do monologues all the time, only that. I also want to do interviews and that kind of stuff when I head back to the road, because right now I'm back in Holland, not on the road or anything. So yeah, from him I got a lot of inspiration to do this podcast series. And because I listened to it on the bike, I enjoyed that, a lot. And there were times where I was like, you know what, I can cycle on forever. If this guy just keeps on going with this podcast, I can just, he keeps on rambling and I just keep on cycling, and it was good. And I got to know him really, really well through his podcast series. And that's also what I want to have with this series, is I want to, for you guys to have some more content to listen to, and know a little bit more about me and about my journey that I'm gonna take. So that's what I want to talk about right now, is a little introduction of me, because it could be that you don't know me, it could be that you have heard of me, but for those that need a little introduction, here it is. So my name is Tice. I am 18 years old at the moment. It's 2018, February 2018. I live in Holland at the moment, and last year I've completed my first big bike tour, which was about 3 months long, and I crossed through 8 countries on my bicycle. I wanted to ride on a recumbent bicycle, but after a little test ride on it with fully loaded with like 40 kilos of gear, I went on a cycle trip through Holland for 4 days, and it was not a success at all. It was it was not really good. So, and the reason for that was the recumbent bike, basically. When you don't have a lot of gear on it, my particular model was really, really nice. You could go 30 kilometers an hour easily. But when I loaded it up, I had 2 bags on the front, 3 bags in the back. It was really heavy, and the weight was pretty high up from the ground because the wheels were pretty big as well, and I was on top of that. So the weight was high, which means that keeping your balance is hard. And it was hard. It was really hard, stopping to get, a bite to eat, or going to a supermarket was tough. It was really tough to do that because I had to find a place, and it could even take like up to 15 or 20 minutes to get, the bike at a place. I didn't have a kickstand for it either. And it was all just a hassle, and I didn't want to do that. So I decided to ditch my recumbent bicycle and decided to go for a normal bicycle again on this big bike tour, which I've been planning for like 3 years before that. So yeah, I went on this bike tour, and it was a huge success. So I also made these vlog series on the bike tour, which you can see on my YouTube channel. And yeah, from that I gained a lot of positivity, and I started feeling positive again, because after that little recumbent bike incident, I was kind of depressed, because I thought that it wasn't really the fault of the bicycle, but I thought it was the fault of me, that I made the wrong choice to do this. And that wasn't the case, of course, because, I've been looking forward to it for 3 years, and all of a sudden I dread it. I didn't want to go anymore. I said, I can better stay home. So that's also how I went into this big bike tour, is I was like, you know what, if I just can hold it out for 2 months. I've heard someone say that after 2 months of traveling, you are experiencing some kind of change in yourself, that you have some, I don't know, it's something. But I think it was already after a week of travel, well, at least when I crossed the border into Germany, that I already thought, wow, I did this, and that's kind of when the real adventure was on. And that was also the moment when I discovered this feeling for adventure that I've always had before, this incident happened. And yeah, from that moment on, it just went up and up. And I crossed into Denmark, Sweden, Norway, back to Sweden, Finland, down to Estonia, Latvia, and in Riga, I decided to give it a break. The main reason for that is because it was getting too cold. It was the end of November already, and I had been really lucky because I had been cycling in Finland a week after it had snowed a lot. But that week when I cycled there, it was plus 10 degrees or plus 7 or something, really warm. And all the snow had melted. Right now there was like 2 meters of snow at some places that I cycled. So, but yeah, I've been lucky. I've been very, very lucky at those moments. Same as in Norway. I was there in October, around middle of October, and I was on that high mountain plateau. And during that time, it's normally already minus 10 on average. But when I was there, it was like plus 5 or something. Maybe on the high plateau itself, it was around 2 degrees. But there was no snow and the road was still accessible. But yeah, I have been very lucky with that. So since that trip, now I'm back for, I think, a little over 2 months, 2 months and a week now. I want to go back. Well, not right now. I do want to wait. But yeah, right now I have my spirit for travel back, that I've had since childhood, basically. I remember when I was younger, I got this globe from my grandma, I think from my grandmother, and I remember looking at it and just staring at all the places. And when I knew how to operate on a computer and use Google, I started looking at, information about these places. I remember I've made certain like essays of certain places myself when I learned how to write those things, of course, just because I wanted to know more. I was always curious about these mysterious places. And back in the day, I had a lot of fantasy, and I used to make my own worlds with its own countries and languages, and I even made like an own language. I don't know if I have that still, but I used to make my own languages, which is quite interesting. But I always had this curiosity in me for places that I've just exploring and discovering and exploring this world. So that brings me to the point where I am right now. So right now I am in Holland, 2 months and a week after I came back from my big bike tour in Europe. The original plan was a little different. The original plan was that I went through a lot more countries. Actually, I wanted to not make a circle, but kind of like a line through Europe. So the plan wasn't really to stop in Latvia, but it was to continue cycling through Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, onto Hungary, Austria, Czechia, Romania, Bulgaria, down to Greece. Not down to Greece, but down to Italy. I would have gone to Italy and I would have stopped in Venice. That was actually the original plan. And from there, find a way to get home by train or bus or something. But that plan didn't really work out, because if I had cycled on from Latvia to Poland and such, it would have been in the middle of winter, cold, minus 10, 20 degrees. It can get there easily. And I was, camping like pretty much half of the time. So that wouldn't really have been a good time. So that's why I decided to head home a little early. But I'm going to go back to Latvia where I stopped and make this route and more. So not only do I want to stop in Venice, no, I want to keep going, maybe even go to Spain, Portugal, France, and a bunch of other places. But also on the other end, I want to go to Greece, Albania, why not every country in Europe? So from there, on my website, you can see, I think I have a picture, or it's the background picture of the middle slide on the homepage, which has a little thumbnail of the southern part of Europe with a route going through. So some people, they see these lines and these dots, and they think that those lines are like straight lines. Then I'm going to cycle that exact line. Now that is impossible, of course. I could fly that, but it's impossible to cycle that, or I have to go like through, I don't know, houses and that kind of stuff. So some people say when they look at my map or my route, they say that why aren't you going to this place? Why aren't you going to that place? Why are you skipping on Slovakia? That's not the case, of course. I want to go through to each country. It might seem like it that I'm skipping that country, but I really want to go to Slovakia as well. So yeah, I basically want to go to every country in Europe. But on my website, you will see something else. You will see that I'm going to try to cycle to every country in the world. Now, this is a long-term plan, and I have not laid out the route for that, because I'm probably not going to be able to do that in one big bike tour. And that's not my plan either. I'm not the same as I've said before, Jayo. I'll leave a link to his website and his YouTube channel in the description of this podcast, so you can check him out. He is a pretty cool dude. Right now his vlog channel is on hold, but I think in March he'll head back to Japan, to Taiwan, and keep cycling through Taiwan, then China, and then all over the world basically. Now, he wants to do it in one big swoop, but I don't think that it's possible to do every country in one big swoop, because, I have family back home that I want to go to every now and then. Now, he also goes back to his family, so there's that. But yeah, sometimes I would like to take my bike with me home and then start another tour from a different place. Now, after this European bike tour, I'm not going through Europe anymore. Well, maybe a few things that I still want to see. For example, in Norway, I missed the top natural view and natural tourist destination by just one lane, one bike, or it was a road lane. Now, there was a road lane, but there was a bike lane right next to it. And from the bike lane, you could actually see this lookout point. But from the road, you couldn't at all. But there was a sign before the view was actually there that said that this bike lane was closed. So I took the road for that little stretch until I thought that it was over. And I kept cycling. It was downhill, so if I were to go back, it would have been a pain. It was all downhill, and it was quite a far ways. Then I went to this bike lane, and I ended up at the bottom. There was another sign that said, here is actually the part that was closed, but I didn't want to go back, because that was like 200 meters of elevation in like 10 minutes that I lost. So if I were to go back, it would have been a pain. So I decided to keep going past this sign, and there were some boulders here and there on the road, but it wasn't anything spectacular, and the road was just accessible. So it was kind of weird that that this sign was there. But because in that first part I didn't cycle on the bike lane, I missed the what was it called? I think like the Veringsfossen or something, like a beautiful, beautiful waterfall. And I've seen some pictures on Google of it, and I was like, shit, why did I miss that point? So now I have a very, very, very good reason to go back to Norway. And I really want to go to Nordkapp as well. And the part above that, which is called Svalbard. So there's like an island, this is like high in the Arctic, where I want to go to, because supposedly in winter it's like 24/7 dark. and in summer it's 24/7 light there. So I really want to see that. I think I have it on my bucket list, being there for like 3 days in winter and 3 days in summer to see that never-ending sun or never appearing sun. So yeah, what I do want to do on this project to cycle all over the world is do one swoop through, I think, Africa and Asia to cover as many countries as I can. And I have been thinking about what kind of bike I want to choose. I might go back to the recumbent bike, just like Jayo. He has a recumbent trike, so I might want to try to use a recumbent trike for that. But yeah, those things are quite expensive and I don't have that much money at the moment. Which brings us to what I'm doing at this moment, like right now, this moment in time. Well, not right now. Right now I'm recording a podcast. But I was just doing a programming course, or a bit of it. And that is how I want to make some money. I want to make some money on the road as well, because when I go back to Latvia for the second part of the bike tour, I already know in my budget I won't have enough. So I've got to be creative and find some ways to make money on the road. So that's how I found this movement. It's called a digital nomad movement, or location independence. Also through a podcast, by the way. And that is about people that can travel but still make money while traveling. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with travel, but they have some kind of business or some kind of job that they can do remotely. So they just need the laptop, hence digital nomad. So someone with, digital way to make money, a laptop, and often also Wi-Fi to make money. And one of the top jobs to make money this way is programming or web development. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm doing a course on web development. So this is a course from Udacity. It actually costs quite a bit of money, $200 a month. And you learn to become a web developer, basically. So you'll learn programming languages like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, as I'm learning right now. And if I complete this course normally takes about 6 months, but I've already been using this course for just over a month now, and I'm already halfway there. So I hope to be done in about 2 months from now, so that will be in April. And then I can already start experimenting with some of these remote jobs. So I might go the freelancer way, so I just have to find clients. But then I need a portfolio, of course. Or I can do the job way and, find a company that will pay me to do some remote work. So I've already talked to my uncle. My uncle has a financing company. Well, he's not. I think he's one of the owners or something. But that company also has a web development department. So I might be able to talk to the head of that department, and maybe he can give me some tips on what really to learn, what is hot right now. Maybe I have to do some backend, which I actually already have been doing, a little bit of PHP, which is more of a backend language. And with that, I actually made a login website. So a website where you can log in, you can do anything else, just log into it, submit your details, and that's about it. It's not online or anything, it's only on my computer. My website that I have, so TravelingTice.com, is not programmed by myself, by the way, just to clarify. No, that website was a little hard to, the things that I wanted were a little too hard to do in this stage of my programming skills, to do it all myself. So I instead used WordPress for that. So I bought a good theme, that's what it's called, and with that I could make this site really easily. So it's really easy as well when I want to edit something, when there's a typo in this website, I can just enable the visual builder, it's called, and then just click on that piece of text and just change it right there. While when you want to program it, you have to find the certain place where your text is in the code, and then you have to change it there, which is a little bit of a pain if you don't know the code, or you haven't written it yourself. So yeah, and I also really, really like it. That's not really what I expected, but especially JavaScript and programming and stuff, I really enjoy doing that, actually. Yeah, so I hope that I am able to get some job in that in the future. So, but yeah, right now I'm not making money with that yet. I am making a little tiny bit of money with my YouTube. It's about, I think I can tell that it's about $100 in 2 months. So they don't pay you until you have $70 in your balance. And when you have that much, then they'll pay you by the end of the month. And by the end of, well, I have about 100 when I was uploading daily. And right now I'm not uploading daily anymore. I'm just pretty much on standby, actually. I did, my last video was I think 4 days ago about finances. But yeah, they're all the same because I'm not really going out. I'm just sitting here programming a lot of the time. And my bike is broken as well, which really sucks. My rear brake, I have disc brakes on my bike. And I thought, I think it was a few weeks ago, I was cycling around in the neighborhood and it was windy. It was pretty windy. And I pulled my bike somewhere and it fell over because of the wind. It hit something, no, it hit the ground. And in the back, a little screw came loose. So I heard a little rattle, but I thought it was actually the brake, the disc brake. So before I really assessed the damage and what it was, I was already messing around with my disc brake, which wasn't really that smart because when I did that, my disc brake right now, I can't get it back to normal. And I already found the screw and I already replaced that. But yeah, my disc brake is still, I don't know what it is, but I have found, a lot of tutorials on the internet as also about this particular disc brake. And the problem is I can't get it aligned with the rotor, with the thing that it grabs onto. So it's never really aligned. So when I brake, it doesn't brake properly, but the rotor is against the side of the disc brake itself, which is really, really annoying. I really don't like that because it's kind of like you can hear it rubbing against the side. And I have tried so hard, and right now it's also -3 outside. It's really cold, so right now I don't really feel like doing that. So I might go to the bike shop in this afternoon to get that fixed. Because man, it's a pain. It's really a pain. I have cycled. I have a paper round in the morning. I get up at 4 a.m. or 4:15 every morning. Don't want to make it worse than better than it is. It's actually 4:15. My first alarm clock actually goes at 4 o'clock. But at 4:15 is when I really get up, go to a place where I get my newspapers, and then bring her around. That takes about 3 hours, so I'll be back home at like 7:30. And that's my only stream of income at the moment. So I do still cycle, I do still go outside, but only for that period of time, basically. And during the day, I sometimes go to the grocery shop or something else, but I don't really go around for a ride, which I should do. But yeah, my bike is broken. I could also go on my other bike, which is an old crappy bike, but yeah, that's not enjoyable. That's just purely for the work and not really for the joy and pleasure. So I've been talking for about half an hour now, and I want to keep it to this. Next time I want to talk about something more in depth. So if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comment section below. If you are on the website, and otherwise you can go to my website, or you can just send me an email as well on dominiguy29@gmail.com. That name Dominiguy is another topic that I want to talk about a little later, because that's quite a funny topic. It's about my YouTube past, but I think that's a good topic for another podcast. So I'm gonna write that one down. Yeah, I think that's kind of funny because I've been on YouTube for quite a while already. I think since 2010. So that's 8 years now. That's a long time. Anyways, that's it for this podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any tips, feel free to leave them down below. This is also, well, it's the second time that I'm using this podcast recorder, and I don't have a pop filter for it yet. So I have just grabbed a piece of foam and I just stuck it onto the microphone. So I hope it sounds good, but sometimes when I laugh too hard or when I blow like that, it might sound a little crappy. Or might be too loud. I don't know. I haven't really dug into the settings of this particular voice recorder because it has quite a lot of settings. I just use the easy mode. It has an easy mode. I just put that on and I just say, all right, that's... I'm not really an audio guy, but might become one. Might become one later. When I used this podcast or this voice recorder for the first time was for my last video, and man, that is a difference, like crazy. Because I used to use a shotgun microphone, which also picked up a lot of the echoes around in my room. My room is it's pretty echoey, and it picked a lot of that extra echo sound. And when I used this voice recorder, it was a lot cleaner. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. And I hope that this podcast came out good. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to know more, please go to my website, TravelingTice.com. And I will see you guys in the next one.